Hi everybody, this is Brian, and today we're going to be going over some of the 2019 individual, accomplishment awards like the MVP award, the Cy Young award, and all of that stuff. Since we're about to figure out who the best team was, overall from the World Series, Washington and Houston are going back and forth. Washington with the first two and Houston with the second three, all of them on the road. This has definitely been uh, a historic series because Washington won the first two in Houston, and then they reversed it once they were actually back in Washington for the first time since the 30s, since they were called the Senators. But yeah, I'm really excited for this season back since the Giants were still in the World Series. This is one of the best ones I've actually seen. One of the best matchups. We've seen pitchers like Scherzer and Verlander, Garrett Cole having one of the best seasons in memory. It's been fantastic. So let's get straight to it. By the way, I just wanted to start this video. These aren't my predictions. These are more my personal opinions and picks. So if I'm wrong on a bunch of these, um, that's why. Anyways, yeah, let's get to it. I'll give you the team name, obviously, and some of the stats they dominated in. Maybe we'll talk about how they stack up to last year's winner, assuming it's not the same person again. Let's get to it. The 2019 AL MVP is going to be Mike Trout. He's won it twice in the past, in 2016 and 2014. And last year's award winner was Mookie Betts. I think that Mike Trout's numbers from this year, even though he got injured early on in the season, well, not early on in the season, but like early on in September, he still hit over 40 home runs, over 100 um, RBIs, and he still hit over 290, even though he ended the season prematurely. So that's pretty amazing. I think that he was the Hank Aaron Award winner, so it's not really a hard choice, and I don't think I'm alone in putting Mike Trout as the AL MVP for 2019. Okay, let's go on to the 2019 National League MVP, which last year was Christian Yelich, and I think it's going to be the same player again because I think that a lot of players were put on the shelf this year prematurely, but Christian Yelich, even though he was one of them, he was one of the people who really helped his team get to the playoffs, and he was a real, for lack of a better term, difference maker. And I think Christian Yelich made as big of a difference this year as he did last year, even though he was on the shelf longer with a severe injury this year. And hopefully he comes back healthy. Um, the guy has really blossomed. He's blossomed, and I think he's become one of the best players in the National League. He doesn't have quite the power that Mike Trout has, but I think that honestly, he's one of those players who's kind of comparable almost to someone like George Springer or Jose Altuve, to compare him to some of the Astros players that are making a fantastic historical mark on the World Series right now. Okay, let's talk about the Cy Young Award to get on to a little bit of pitching. We'll talk about the AL Cy Young Award winner from last year, which was Blake Snell from the Tampa Bay Rays. He was a little bit of a one-hit wonder because he didn't do as much to make a difference this year because he was hurt a lot of the time. So Blake Snell is not my pick for the 2019 AL Cy Young winner. I'm actually going to go with a different player. I think that if we're looking at AL pitchers, I think that honestly, I think that honestly, Garrett Cole should probably be the one who wins this one. He even when juxtaposed against Justin Verlander, who also had a absolutely mind-boggling season, I think that Garrett Cole put on one of the best seasons we've seen in recent history, and he struck people out like a machine. I honestly just haven't seen somebody put that kind of season up since probably Bumgarner's season in like 2014 through 2016, and Bumgarner's season was nowhere near Garrett Cole's season. Don't make the mistake that I'm saying that. But I think that, in terms of just dominating um, effortlessly with like that kind of virtuosity, and in the postseason too, I think he's made a bigger difference than Verlander there as well, even though this is a regular season award. I think that he raises the standard of this award. That is Garrett Cole. And I think he raises the bar a little bit from Blake Snell. No offense against Blake Snell because he was 21 and 5 with a 1.89 ERA with 221 strikeouts. But I honestly think that Garrett Cole probably raised the bar of this award. Like it looks like something from the dead ball era now. It's really impressive. Garrett Cole looks like someone who could sorry, I have a little bit of a vocal twitch because of my epilepsy in the mornings. Um, Garrett Cole looks like somebody who could have pitched in the rotation along with Cy Young, and that's what I was trying to say. Um, the National League, I'm going to go with Hyun-Jin Ryu from the Los Angeles Dodgers. I think that his ERA, even though it rose throughout the year, it was bound to because it was like in the ones. It was something we haven't seen that low in decades. Um, but even though he regressed a tiny bit throughout the season, I think that Hyun-Jin Ryu really put up the kind of seasons, or sorry, singular, the kind of season that helped the LA Dodgers probably be, and this hurts me to say because I'm a Giants fan and they finished in third place this year in the National League West. But it was the kind of season that Ryu had that allowed the Dodgers to be probably the National League's equivalent of the Yankees or of the Astros. It was probably why they were record-wise one of the best teams in the league this year. Let's go with Rookie of the Year. I'm going to go with Yordan Alvarez for the AL from the Houston Astros. That guy had some power that was truly mind-blowing. And we've seen him turn it on a little bit and get things going as the World Series has continued on. He was a little bit cold when things first got started. Last year's winner, by the way, was Shohei Ohtani. He ended up putting up more offensive numbers because he got hurt from the pitching end of things. Batting average 285, home runs 22, 61 RBIs. But I think that Yordan Alvarez, from the power standpoint, he was a large reason why there probably wasn't a hole or a weakness anywhere in that lineup. That's one of the best teams that we've seen probably since a team like the Red Sox broke the curse or something, or it's probably one of the best like post-steroid era teams where, or like pre was it Humidor, Colorado Rockies, like when you were still seeing like Todd Helton hitting like 40 home runs a year every year, and then we were seeing Barry Bonds hitting home runs like they were off a tee. Anyways, but I think that let's go on to the National League now. I think Alvarez definitely won that award completely, just unambiguously. National League Rookie of the Year for 2019. I think it's going to have to be. I'm gonna go with Mike Yastrzemski. I think that he arrived on the Giants when it wasn't completely at the beginning of the year, but he was still one of the leaders of the team in terms of home runs. And I thought his moment at Boston's Park, at Fenway Park, I thought that his moment hitting that home run, I think it was his 20th, and he had Carl Yastrzemski, his Hall of Fame grandfather who played for the Red Sox. throwing out the first pitch. I think that was one of the most emotional, sentimental moments of the whole 2019 season. Yeah, and so we're gonna go with Mike Yastrzemski from the Giants. There's other people you might be able to put here for the National League Award, but I think that the way his power it just blossomed so quickly, and he was one of the team's leaders uh, throughout the season, which is impressive considering he had to waste away for so long, for like 7 years in the minor leagues, but the guy still came up and he just gave it his all, and he played like someone who was just like in a good way. I mean this, by the way. He played like somebody who was just drafted and was young and was really in their prime, even though he's like 29 years old. Even though his best years might be a year or two behind him. In terms of the Relief Man Award of the Year, um, it's a little bit harder with the use of openers nowadays. I'm going to go with Aroldis Chapman again for the 2019 Relief Man of the Year award. I really think that his fastball is unbeatable. He uh, he had 37 saves, um, and he's won the award so many times. In actuality, I think that um, in terms of the National League, I'm going to go with Kenley Jansen. He's won the award in 2 of the last 3 years. I feel like how he stacks up to 2018's winner, the fireballer Josh Hader from the Milwaukee Brewers. I feel like Josh Hader is not reliable. I feel like he's one of those guys who, um, he has the heat all of the time, but he doesn't really have the control. And so I'm going with Kenley Jansen, even though his cutter is sometimes a little bit over too far. And I think that honestly, it's one of the best cutters we've seen since Mariano Rivera retired. Um, Obviously, it doesn't stack up with Rivera's, but in the time since then, in the latter half of the decade, um, I think that he's a good choice, and I think that Aroldis Chapman is probably the most dominant reliever from the last decade, and so he would be my pick for the 2019 award. But I would go with Jansen for the NL. So yeah, those are going to be my choices, and we'll see for these awards, the ones that haven't been given out yet. We'll see who wins them, and we'll see, you know, who wins the World Series. It's up to I think Game 6 is tomorrow, and they're taking a day off again, so they can go back to Houston, because Houston won all 3 of the games in Washington, which is crazy. Um, I think personally, if the World Series follows anything of the pattern that it has so far, I actually think that we're going to see Washington make a comeback, and them winning 2 straight games on the road to end up winning 4 games on the road in the World Series. That's actually, I heard something that's never happened before. A team winning all of the games on the road in the World Series. That's crazy. And the fact that Houston, who are one of the best teams in all of baseball, they had one of the best seasons that I've ever seen as a baseball fan. And I know some of you obviously have been there watching a lot longer than I have, but um, as a fan, for me, that was one of the best seasons I've ever seen since I sat down and turned on my TV, so to speak. Um, but yeah, I think Washington. I think that they're just motivated. I think having players like Anthony Rendon on there. I think that honestly, um, if the pattern of each team winning all of their away games, like Houston winning all the Washington games, which kind of sucks for their fans since they haven't hosted a series since the 30s when they were still called the Senators. If the pattern continues, because obviously Washington won both of the first two games in Houston. Um, then, if the pattern continues for the 78th time I've said that, I'm sorry, then obviously then the Nationals would take the series and they would close it out. Um, Really would suck if you're a Houston fan though, because honestly, this has been one of the most memorable seasons. I don't think Cole and Verlander's opening games for the series were that great. It was really amazing the first game that Scherzer put out there. Obviously they made him work really, really hard, but the fact that he was able to only allow 2 runs and still throw 5 innings, it was one of those really, really kind of Hall of Famer starts. It's the kind of thing that shows you, wow, this is the kind of guy where even on the day where he doesn't have his best stuff, he can still hold it out there, and put he can still give you a chance to win, is what I'm trying to say. He can still, carry his team through to the point where the bullpen has a good chance to not be overworked, and he doesn't allow too many runs. He manages to strand the bases loaded, and he manages to not get pulled 3 1/3 innings of the way through. Um, but yeah, anyways, these are my picks for, I guess, now the World Series and for the awards. So tell me some of your picks in the comments or on Facebook if you're responding to my link to this. Anyways, I love you guys all because you're you, and it sucks that the season is ending because we're not going to end up seeing more baseball till spring training, which obviously is kind of a facsimile of real baseball, which I think is the best sport, because it's like it goes all year. You're not just getting 13 or 14 games to look forward to at some point, like months and months away. I think baseball is the kind of game that, you know, really gives the team a chance to prove what they're made of because they're playing all year. Um, Anyways, love you guys because you're you. Tell me your choices. I'll talk to you soon. Peace out, brah.